Welcome to the Reddit library. Today, we'll be looking at r/AskReddit, where user My Name is Connell asked, Serious, those who've explored abandoned buildings that went seriously wrong, what happened? Went to an abandoned water park with some photography buddies, crawled through the hole in the fence, opened the front door, and a cop was just sitting there at the desk like he was here giving us pool passes. Yes, he was a real cop. He called for another unit to come to us, and then they just asked us what and why we were there, then let us go on our day. Not in the water park, sadly. The creepy question is, what was he doing there? I was on the roof of an abandoned house with a friend, just to smoke some weed and talk peacefully. My friend got up to go pee. After a step, part of the roof collapsed and my mate fell through the floor and got hurt with a leg injury. Pay close attention to the abandoned places. It can become dangerous. Not seriously wrong, but I was scared. I was around 10 years old or so. I went into this not that old abandoned building with two of my friends. They were boys. We explored the building and got down to the basement, and we met some boys from 9th grade and went with them. We got pretty deep into the basement, and then all of a sudden a woman starts to scream. We couldn't see anybody since it was very dark. We had flashlights and flashed them around the room. Keep in mind, I was the only girl with the group of boys and my friends. We just ran out after that as the screaming continued. We all agreed to never enter again. Drunk and lonely in Korea. Wandered into an abandoned construction site that I hadn't seen anyone working on all winter. The night air is cold and frigid and there's echoes of cars passing by. Using the light of my old phone, I walk inside, look around. The place is empty, I'm too drunk to be scared. Stumble upstairs, wandering around. Slip because I'm drunk and my butt hits the concrete, and I drop the phone and I'm in total darkness. I reach over, pick up the phone, and see that right in front of me, where I was walking, the ground gave way to a 10-foot drop, at the bottom of which are a series of rebar bars jutting out of the concrete. I could have stumbled and impaled myself on them easily. As kids, my cousin and I went exploring in an abandoned old church. He, being the more adventurous of the two, had decided to go climbing and seeing if he could get to the top of the roof. Well, it wasn't exactly stable, and luckily he didn't get all the way to the top when he fell. He copped a nasty gash on his leg in the process though, and it was a long walk back to our grandmother's house to get attended to, purely because we kept stopping. Needless to say, we were banned from exploring since. Some friends and I went exploring in an old abandoned slave church in the deep South Georgia woods. There were graves dug up in the cemetery and the church itself was all falling apart. There was one hallway with a room in the back that had the door cracked. I was the first one in the hallway, and as I got to the door to the room in the back, I heard someone in the room go, shh. Went to turn and run out of there, but my girlfriend at the time was leaned against the wall in a daze looking at the ground. I had to grab her hand and pull her to get her going. It was weird. Born and raised in the deep South, we had some old slave buildings and a small graveyard far back in the wooded area of our property. I don't know if the supernatural is real, but one thing I can tell you for certain, do not mess with old slave stuff. Explored an abandoned school. The place was boarded up, so we technically had to break in, but the roof was caving in and the power was cut. We got into the gym and triggered an alarm that was apparently on some kind of backup power, and we all had to squeeze through a small opening to rush back out. Did you find out if anyone ever responded to the alarm? Don't think anyone did. We waited up the road listening to the police scanner and nothing for an alarm trip came over it for an hour. Took 2 steps into the doorway and a gigantic banana spider crawled right onto my face. I knocked myself backwards out of the place, just hitting myself in the face to get it off. After that, I decided that was enough of that noise. We used to play Airsoft King of the Hill games in an old early 1900s mansion that had been abandoned since the 80s in the Illinois cornfields. We never went deep into the basement because it was partially flooded and at the same time gave everyone a very weird feeling when we get to the bottom of the steps. Well, one day we decided to play a night game and the whole vibe of the house was off. It felt like there was someone standing right behind you the entire time, and we kept hearing noises and sloshing water coming from the basement, so we booked it out of there, and as we were leaving, we all swear we saw a light come on really quick up in the attic and then go dark. This is like that moment in scary movies where the main characters could just leave and the movie would be over, but instead they stay. Good idea leaving. Nothing went wrong per se, but the whole building was caved in. Small house around 100 years old. Except for one room, a child's room that seemed almost untouched. The walls still pink, glass chandelier hanging from the ceiling. It was creepy given the rest of the house was completely fallen apart, you couldn't make out the rooms. I don't know if this counts. I was 16 and a couple friends of mine wanted to check out this abandoned train station. When we got there, everything seemed to be normal for an abandoned site, graffiti, trash, etc. But there was this one little building there that looked weirdly clean and well preserved. So we decided to go in through the window since the door was locked. Inside, we found this big piece of metal and the following sentence was carved in it. Our dream is wakefulness, our enemy is dreamless sleep. And there were a bunch of doll Barbie heads hanging from the ceiling. Then we heard a noise. When I looked back, it was probably a rat, and ran away as quick as we could. I think I still have a photo of that metal piece. Still creeps me out. It wasn't really wrong per se, but incredibly gross nevertheless. I was exploring an abandoned gas station, which happened to also have some abandoned mobile homes on its property. As I walked through the mobile home, my friend was complaining of a foul smell. I couldn't smell anything as I was wearing my gas mask to protect from asbestos. And I wandered into a room, only to discover someone had covered it with feces, walls painted with poop, floors covered in neat little piles, and a filthy mattress. As soon as I got outside and took my mask off, the smell hit me and I lost my lunch in some tall grass. I went into this creepy abandoned mansion that was also used as a mental institution before it was abandoned. Didn't even expect to get in, but a connecting building had an opening and I just wound up in the mansion. Anyway, super cool place, right out of a horror movie. As I'm finishing up exploring the place, I come up on a room on the top floor. Door was open, and as I walked in, I noticed a sign. It read, "Warning, high levels of asbestos in this area. If you have been exposed, go to nearby hospital immediately." Tried to breathe as little as possible as I booked it out of there. Didn't go to the hospital because I doubt I could have been exposed to so much asbestos I'll have problems. And even if I was, there's nothing a hospital is going to be able to do anyway. Instead, I went home, threw all my clothes in the wash, took a shower, and bought a gas mask for future explorations. Asbestos doesn't work that way. It has been turned into something similar to nuclear fallout, but it takes repeated exposure of it in dust form to harm you. Doing some urbexing a few years back with a group of photographers over in northeast New Jersey at an abandoned sanatorium with pretty high security since its remains are now in a relatively upscale area. The photographers were mostly all doing it for the gram, while I was more about the adventure and seeing what kind of interesting stuff I could find in the locations. Well, we had to synchronize sneaking in through this window to get in without being detected by the local fuzz who would do regular patrols of the grounds, but not generally the interiors unless they had to. We were all on the 3rd floor when I, alert as ever, heard voices that weren't us coming from what sounded like down the hall, so we became ninjas and tried to sneak to the lower floors to avoid detection. We crept into this one open room in the floor beneath us, only to scare the bejesus out of another older, mid to late 40s and 50s group of urban explorers who were coincidentally trying to hide from us for the same reason. We all had a good laugh and parted ways. My friends and I, while looking for street spots to skateboard at, found an abandoned toy store. The back door was open, so we started to go in, thinking, hey, this might be a good spot to skateboard. Well, we get in, and on the wall there is a big graffiti that said Blood's Territory. Number of people beaten here, 6. We got out of there so fast and never came back. Could have just been a scare tactic, but we had no intention of finding it out. I didn't do it personally, but I used to work for an insurance claim management company that contracted people who did, and I have 2 stories that stand out. One of our contracted employees entered an abandoned house and went room to room to confirm damages. Dude entered the final room to find out it's been fully decorated to be a satanic shrine. Our contractor saw someone just standing there in the middle of the room and bolted for the exit once he realized there was someone else in there. Lady I was walking through the process of assessing a property we were managing found a dead body. Appeared to have been recently killed too. Said that the guy was laying in a pool of blood. She quit because of this incident. Friend of mine got an urbex tip about an abandoned military munition storage. Wide open gate, no locks. Drove right in. Found these grass-covered bunkers. Empty inside, but very cool and creepy. Took some great pictures. All of a sudden, a helicopter flies by. Low. Strange, but not that strange. My friend gets really spooked though. Looked like a police chopper. He insists we pull the truck into the bunker to hide it in case it comes back. I pull the truck in and sure enough it comes back. We all duck into the bunker. And this thing drops into a low hover, right above us, spotlight shining on the bunker door. We are completely done. After a few minutes, we all agree this is it. Squad car must be coming. Life is over. We just trespassed into some federal facility we only thought was abandoned. We are getting arrested. We all agree we might as well just come out. So we all walk out into the spotlight, show ourselves, set our camera and tripod down. Chopper hovers there, there's nothing on loudspeaker, they're just looking at us, and then it turns and flies away. What does this mean? I don't know, just get in the truck. So we haul out of there, as fast as we can drive, and never saw a sign of the police again. While exploring an abandoned warehouse that we always used to go to as kids, we found a filming crew one night. As we were passing the campers where the actors stay, the cops pulled up and chased us into the bush. Turns out they were filming a scene for It Chapter 2. Now when we go to the warehouse, all we can think of is that damn clown. Didn't go seriously wrong, but it could have. Me and my friend busted the locks into an abandoned nuclear bunker one night. It was quite cool inside and had all the original stuff and everything. A few minutes after we'd left, I got a call from my friend saying 2 police cars had arrived there and the officers were investigating. If we had spent a few more minutes in there, I'd probably have a criminal record. I wouldn't say it was something that went seriously wrong, but when I and a friend were exploring an abandoned building while traveling abroad, we saw some guy shooting up heroin in the dark in the corner of some room, which was very unexpected. My ex got chased out of an abandoned house at gunpoint for trespassing. When the ex pointed the house one day, I realized that my uncle and cousin were the guys who had chased him off, as they lived right up the hill and it was their family's property. He was not the brightest bulb. Do you have any creepy or interesting stories that you want to share while going through abandoned buildings? Let us know in the comments below for a chance to be featured in an upcoming video. Thank you so much for watching and we'll see you soon.